It's not our car, man. We borrowed it.
You guys think this will make the cut in the Thug remaster? There comes a time where a video game publisher releases a remaster or remake. The original games are usually old as shit, so the companies re-release them for profit. For the fans.
But Jayson, what's the difference between a remaster and a remake?
Great question, generational hooligan Uday Hussein. Simply put, remasters are graphical and audio performance upgrades, while remakes are a complete rebuild, including major changes to the mechanics, artistic style, and even the story. For example, The Last of Us Remastered is a remaster of The Last of Us, not to be confused with The Last of Us, the HBO series, or The Last of Us Part 1, which is a remake of The Last of Us. And even though The Last of Us Remastered included a DLC called The Last of Us Left Behind, The Last of Us Remastered is still considered a remaster because it was simply a visual, audio, and performance upgrade, while The Last of Us Part 1 is a complete overhaul of the gameplay and the visuals. There had to be a better way to explain this. After a massive shit that was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, the series took a hiatus and bounced back with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2, a remake of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. I never played it, but the fans seemed to love it, and the reception was so positive that the remake got a sequel, with today's topic, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4, coming out on July 11th, 2025. With the same formula, of course, THPS 3, THPS 4, polymerization, but this time, the series took a hit, damn near 2 points off the board.
Sick?
No! If you've never played this game before, you might be thinking, how could it be worse than the previous product? All they have to do is combine THPS 3 and 4 into one game. Well, remember, it's not a remaster, it's a remake, and after playing the game, I came out with a much more bigoted view on remakesters as a whole.
Word of the day, remakester. Noun, a portmanteau of remake and remaster. Portmanteau. Noun, a large trunk or suitcase.
Now, I do understand some of the justifications behind wanting these renewed products, and I could even see the convenience behind having it on modern consoles. I know a lot of y'all have a bougie-ass paperweight that's alternatively known as a PS5. I use mine to charge my Chinese headphones that I'm almost certain is actively stealing my data. I've only had this for like a year and the battery is already cooked. Also, it's oxidized in one area. I don't know how that works. Also, the name is Jethos, and one of the pages, it deadass says, "Clear voice for game, bring victory for you." So that's on me. On the bright side, at least I got the Logitech today, so I don't really have much use for this anymore. Also, if you have an Xbox Series X, that name rolls off the tongue, or even an Xbox One, you can get it on the Game Pass. This point was in my outline before the increase of the subscription price, so compile that with the fact that you don't own these games and they can leave at any point, and you'll understand why these subscription models are flawed. Man, thank God that it's tax deductible for me. Even with all of that in mind, I still lean towards emulating since it's the best way to play most of these games without breaking the bank. And for whatever reason you don't have one, behold, a budget build. However, you're on your own when it comes to procuring the ISO, since I'm not confident on the legality of such a thing. And I think the only lawyer I'm cool with didn't finish law school yet. Actually, wait, hold on. Hey Siri, call
C Money.
What's up?
Yo, dude, have you finished law school yet?
I finished it in like a year, yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you, love you. Well, in that case, you can go to... Regardless, emulators have the best batting record pertaining to alternatives, mainly because it preserves the original installment, and that's my primary issue with 3+4. While it's definitely not the same kind of ass levels as Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, it does exemplify how a lot of remakes and remasters often disrespect the original product, and it's especially pertinent since there's an audience out there that wants the underground games to suffer the same fate. Don't believe me? Well, buckle up, nigga, cause I'm gonna do a rundown of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4. Then I'm gonna show you how a potential Thug 1 and 2 reboot would likely come out censored to Heffel and back based on how this game was handled. But first, obligatory, if you had fun with 3+4, that's fine, I don't care, it's not relevant to my issues with it. I'm judging the game from the standards that the series has set, along with conventional video game standards that are relevant. Alright, fade to black. Starting with the gameplay, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 basically grabbed the original 4's mechanics and did some detailing. Additions were made, like the ability to do wall plants, originally introduced in Thug 1, one of the best tricks added to the franchise, and it improves the older maps significantly. I fucking love wall plants. Oh, and acid drops were added too. You'll also notice that there's a slight animation delay between changing manuals and grinds during combos. It does make the skater look smoother. I mean, I personally prefer the crackheaded Jayson movements that were in the older gen games, but whatever. Another change that's worth mentioning is the skitching. It now gives you a speed boost when you let go of the whip. I hate it. Besides that stuff, the only other note I have in the gameplay is that I prefer to use the analog stick over the D-pad, despite using the D-pad primarily in all the other installments. I don't know what that means for the game, so I'm just gonna move on.
Character editor.
The character editor is ass. Like, really underwhelming. I'm genuinely surprised at the lack of depth here. Brother, look at the hairstyles and the beard. Look at the afro. Only one version and we're stuck with the Frederick Douglass Jr. ass, Mr. Satan ass, this afro was promised to me 3,000 years ago ass. Oddly enough, there's a lack of buzz cuts, taper styles, and cornrows. I mean, of course, we got the one-side shaved Antifa hair, but the selection is lacking. And you know what? For a company that looks like this, I'm surprised by the shit variety here. And where's the body scaling options? Dog, you can't even select from a list of body types. You're stuck with the one across a selection of faces that you can't edit the proportions of. Yo, hold up, wait a minute. Huh. So each face has its own body build, either one of a male or a female. It's effectively a whole face and body preset. Damn, God forbid you have a manly ass face as a chick, they'll hook you up with some niggly hips. Or you're a whole dude but you got a feminine face, they'll give you some birthing hips. Yo, Phone AJ here. For some reason I just now found out that if you pick the shirtless option, the male presets will show their nips while the female presets are wearing bras. Wow, Iron Galaxy, kinda shot yourself in the foot with that one. In an effort to remove the gender barriers by not having the ability to choose your sex, you have the obvious dudes free the nipple while the obvious chicks cover their boobies. If that was going to be the case, you should have kept the male or female option. You know, instead of putting the masculine looking woman and the feminine looking dude in an even more hilarious predicament. Sorry pretty boy, you gotta rock that Fashion Nova sports bra. Also, where do the fat niggas fit into all this? Okay, poor choice of words, but I know there has to be some chunky niggas in your office. I'm not gonna put up any evidence of that because that's crazy. But come on now, somewhere a poor Jamaican man is screaming in agony because you ruined his dreams. Back to the faces, remember when I said you can't change the proportions, right?
You're stuck with the one across the selection of faces.
Yeah, that. Well, that shit pairs beautifully with the facial hair selection, or terribly rather. It seems that a lot of these options were made for a specific face because a lot of these beards will bring out your weak ass jawline if you pick the wrong template. Bro, imagine a situation where you're picking a face, not because it looks like you, but because you don't want to look like you sharpied a weak ass stubble on your chin. Then you realize that a lot of these faces were specifically made for a small range of skin tones. So if you're really unlucky in that none of these nigga faces look anything like you, take your pick. Too feminine, too androgynous, or blackface. And on the facial hair selection as a whole, it's ass. We got a plethora of goatees, but not one normal mustache? Okay. Fuck you. There should only be one goatee considering how chopped they look on men 95% of the time. It reminds me of that Tomb Raider animated series where that gay nigga paired the braids with the fade, but then he fucked it all up with the goatee. What kind of shit is that? Wow, I guess they were banking on players not caring too much about their physical appearance in the game, but regardless of where they lean on that area, it's still an instance of subpar character creation. An issue that a lot of video games have, by the way. There's been a shift in the structuring of character creation, where the focus is on making it more asexual, or unisex if you're a normal person. Nowadays, the vast majority of video games with character creation no longer lock the clothing and hairstyles to the sexes. As a matter of fact, a lot of these games don't even give you the option to pick a sex. Here are some examples. I still love using the rule of threes, by the way. Xbox launched a revamped version of the avatars. From memory, the app excluded the male or female options and replaced it with a body type and personality. I say from memory because it got taken to an empty house and shot years later. Forza Horizon 5 also had a free-spirited character editor. However, the clothing variety needed a lot of work, which would have been fine if it weren't for the fact that you'll spend more than enough time staring at your racing avatar, whether it's that post-race results screen or you moseying into your third summer home that you bought with racing bucks. One more example, Pokemon Go had an update for all the 20 people that are still playing it, where the body types along with the clothing blurred the proverbial sex line, and it was not received well. Apparently, this was outsourced to a company called Very Very Spaceship, based in, let me guess, Portland, Oregon. Seattle, Washington? Okay, same shit. I have my issues with developers overcorrecting to appeal to a much smaller demographic, but I care much more about the depth. Trust me, I've played the Saints Row franchise, and you can run around as a nigga in a dress with your bulge set to 100. Also, they legit refer to you with they them pronouns in Saints Row 2.
How's the patient?
Seeing as they're still breathing after being caught in a massive explosion, I'd say pretty good.
Have they said anything yet?
Wait, I thought they did that because they didn't want to bloat the storage with extra audio. I don't even think being non-binary is— Okay, fine, but at least Saints Row 2022 is a better example. As much shit as it got, and deservedly so, one positive I can give the game is their boss factory. You can make somebody as buff and juiced as The Rock in his prime, or as somebody as feminine as Mystique. You can even run around with some heavy-ass milkers and a Johnson. The amount of customization you're given is so impressive that it should be the standard for the applicable video games. And a product obviously leaned towards the voguing community, but it would be massively inaccurate to label its character creation as one of the many negatives that Saints Row 2022 had. Now I know that there are people who aren't fans of this relatively new framing of the created character, but at the very least, you should have depth in that area so the criticism is only a difference of ideology as opposed to the ideology along with the issue of not meeting standards set by the industry. Which brings me back to 3+4, holy shit I got sidetracked. The top games in the series are well known for the variety in their creation modes, especially Thug 1 and 2. You can skate around looking like Bigfoot, Rattle Me Bones, or Cody Rhodes victim during his undashing era. Meanwhile, we got blue contacts, white contacts, orange contacts. The clothing, on the other hand, is only better by a small margin. However, it doesn't even feel like a one step forward, two steps back kind of a situation. It's more of a one step to the side and three steps back. On one hand, the options in the tops and bottoms are adequate, but then you see the lack of outfits, you can't adjust the logos on the tops anymore, the sneakers are restricted to colorways, and although we have a decent selection of footwear, they didn't include any non-skate shoe options for some reason. There's another aspect of the game that involves the clothing, but don't worry, we'll get there when we get there. For now, we can get into the Pro Skater 3 side of the career mode. Side note, shout out to 3+4 for not having a manual save file system, meaning that you can't reset your career progress in-game, unless you want to effectively beat the game twice over, at least according to what this post says. Really awesome, I love it. It's not like that's the standard for single player dominant video games. Fucking A. I don't have much to say about this besides the censorship that I promise we'll get to later. Yeah, let's get to the Pro Skater 4 side. The original Pro Skater 4 set itself apart from the predecessors by reworking the career mode structure. If you're not aware of the change, it can be best described with a quote from a wise man who been had Pokemon cards.
You see a guy, you talk to him, immediately the mission starts. You see a guy, you talk to him, immediately the mission starts. Or hell, go to the menu, select the mission, and bam, it immediately starts.
I know, pretty neat, huh? Well, this time around, they reverted it to the classic 2-minute timer structure. That's fucking gnarly, dude. I also had to use somebody else's footage because completed challenges no longer appear on the goal camera. Say hello to the save file issue again. Even the speedrunning mode screws you over, but not even having a goal camera to begin with. Great. Now, I'm aware that some people aren't necessarily fond of the new direction that the series went towards. In fact, I watched a video that was also about 3+4 that gave a detailed explanation of his issues with the newer structure. I mean, I forgot to put the channel in my notes, and I don't feel like looking for it again, but those people exist. However, regardless of your stance on the career mode change, THPS 4 was specifically built for that, not for the 2-minute timer. Most of the maps were much larger and more intricate than the ones in the last installment. It just makes more sense for the game to let the player explore areas at their own pace and pepper in challenges to incentivize them to find new spots. It's such a confusing change to make. Luckily, we have an article from, Kotaku to see the reasoning behind this. Alright.
Quote,
we looked at 3, and that was obviously another highly regarded title in the franchise. So then it was, let's look at 4. It's quite different, but what at its essence is it? Our goal here is to make the ultimate package of 3 and 4. So ultimately, we felt that taking it into feeling more towards the 3 format as opposed to what 4 did originally was a better representation for a cohesive package that we were making. So a game where you go from completing goals within a 2-minute timer to entering a level and selecting which goal with their own timer to complete is not cohesive enough. Your favorite IPs are being handled by crackheads. Imagine if Super Mario Bros. 1, 2, and 3 got remastered. It got remastered again. And when you got to Mario 3, you find out that there's no overworld level select screen. You just go from one level to the next till you beat the game. And that's what they did to Pro Skater 4. Then these motherfuckers had the audacity to go on X and trick their audience into thinking that the career mode was going to remain undiddled. And let's keep it a buck here, the 2-minute timer system is aged out. It's basically the coin slot arcade model that banks on you playing the the same level over and over again until you know every goal like the back of your dick. It can make the experience quite repetitive, but it is a product of its time. On Pro Skater 4, along with the aforementioned exploration incentive, the new system gave skaters a chance to show off their voice acting range, or lack thereof. Oh, and their clapping skills. We also got a handful of mini games both in and out of the goal list, like College's Tennis, Luge Racing, that Abomination in Kona, and the Carnival games. These additions added more life to the maps. Now don't get it twisted, the 2-minute system works well as a secondary game mode like in Thug 2 and American Wasteland. And of course, I'm not suggesting that Pro Skater 1 through 3's career mode should have been upscaled to 4's. But here we are, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 with the old school career mode system. Haram. And they didn't stop there. Pro Skater's wings were clipped to nubs in other aspects. Like the mini games I brought up a couple minutes ago have been snapped away from existence in this installment, and the 2 returning levels were even relegated to competition challenges, Zoo and Kona, with Zoo getting the worst deal with it being reworked to cater to its new role. So put this into perspective, Pro Skater 4's maps were so large that they included competition challenges with the regular missions, and to rip off that band-aid twice over, Chicago and Carnival aren't included. That's 2 whole ass maps missing, 3 if you count the training level, and you bet your ass I'm counting that. We're reaching Richard Sherman levels of moving backwards. Huh. Sacrificing 3 maps for 3 maps in return.
That is alchemy's first law of equivalent exchange.
Water Park, featured on the game cover, is really gross looking, and the flow is ass, and you really have to use and abuse. Pinball also looks like dog shit. Now, according to Burbis in his video on 3+4, there are some allegations that this game was using AI for some of the art designs, and he even alleged that this map was effectively thrown into the AI machine. I know I'm saying allegations, but look at this shit. Pest in peace. Truly up to interpretation. Burbis goes more in depth with the AI stuff in his game, so I defer most of that subject to that nigga. I mean nigga in an endearing way. But pertaining to this level, I think regardless of if pinball was or wasn't made with AI, this shit looks awful. It plays okay though, except for the pinballs that can knock your ass out. Moving hazards are a war crime. Oh, and movie studio is valid.
Good job.
Before we move on, you know what's hilarious? If you enter the game's tutorial, you'll find out that it's structured just like Pro Skater 4's career mode.
Oh, we were right there, man!
Even the PS1 version that I didn't know existed until recently has this system.
Nice. That's all I have to teach. Nice. That's all I have to teach. You want to run anything again? Just like
I don't think they considered that players might want to come back and retry missions. Moving on, after completing the base career mode, the game will fling platinum challenges at you. This means that you have an incentive to replay every map, yes, including the competition maps. It breathes new life into the game, but imagine being locked in a room with a caustic and a smoke canister inside. Now take a whiff. First off, locking the combo letter challenge behind a New Game Plus should be a felony. Next issue, most of these maps have a challenge that involves you doing a specific trick over a gap, and if you're an avid player of the series, you'll notice that there's something wrong here. You have to do a specific trick instead of doing a trick that is tied to the button combination shown. You might be asking, what happens if you don't have that trick in your repertoire? Well, you gotta quit that game mode and assign that son of a bitch. Back in the day, you could start a combo, pause the game, switch your tricks around, unpause the game, and continue the combo with the new tricks. Now in 3+4, you can only do that in free skate. The game will shake a little bit if you try to change any trick mid-career mode session. Dog, it's not only a regression, you've added an unnecessary caveat to the challenge. Now, I've been told that some of these goals in the platinum section are difficult, and you know what? I'll take their word for it, because I'm not about to find out. Fuck that. With that out the way, we can finally talk about the fat-ass elephant in the room, the censorship. Video game remakesters and censorship. Name a better combo. Conker's Live and Reloaded, somehow more uptight than the version that was released by Nintendo.
I am the great mighty Pooh, and I am going to throw my at you.
Tomb Raider's remaster pulled a Rush Hour before Rush Hour by including a disclaimer about the harmful stereotypes. Speaking of the Rush Hour incident, you like how there were some accounts that were framing this as an issue because of Gen Z? As if there isn't a much more
stoic, not cringe, not lame
generation that was here before us? Fucking millies, man.
Jayson.
What are you doing, man? Shut the fuck up, Nick!
Dead Rising is a good one too. They took out the communism line, which was a major aspect of Cliff, the war vet. The butcher is cleaner, and Asian in name only. And at the top of the mountain of complaints, no more smut. Here's your sexiest shot, denied. Points for erotica? Nope. Cheryl's quest, where she's doing sexy poses in a safe house in front of excited dudes? Yes. Wait, what? In 3+4, it's no different. A no-brainer considering that Activision is behind this, along with Iron Galaxy as the developers. Just look at their About Us page. All are welcome. You would think that something like, as long as you're productive and don't make the workplace weird, you're good, should go without saying, but it's obvious that it's not exactly the message that they want to send. On that note, here's a list of some of the shit that 3+4 censored out. By the way, shout out to Lord Liminal for compiling a lot of this. In the Canada level, the dude pissing off the edge is keeping it in his pants this time around. It is worth noting that in the Thug 2 version, there's also no pisser, but you can still knock him off, so 0 out of 2 for 3+4. No liquor store in that corner of the LA map, no drunk guy either. For a game that has blood, for one of the reasons it's rated T, there's a crazy lack of it, and it's definitely not in the bales. Oh, it's the zombies with the bloodstains. Man, fuck you, the OG version had a healthy amount of blood in it. Actually, on the topic of bales, the new animations suck. I'm gonna invoke the Flippy amendment here. It's much cooler to see your skater break his skateboard and or his bones and then pick himself right back up. I know they basically switched up the skating gear selection for the most part, but how much you want to bet that this Zero deck was never gonna be in the rotation? Ollie the Bum is nowhere to be found, despite being a 1+2. I'm gonna use my headcanon and surmise that they were offended on behalf of the unhoused. Aside from the super assless Daisy Dukes, I don't know how you managed to make booty shorts with no booty. It's honestly impressive. There's a lack of skirts and risque clothing for chicks who want to look sexy while shredding, or more likely the guys who want to make their female characters look hot, which of course means no Daisy or Private Carrera. Daisy's coat is boobs. I was wondering why there was no option to adjust the fit of your clothes. It would have been another way to personalize your character, but King Kami forbid you want to show some sexuality. Instead of impressing the bikini-clad Neversoft girls on a cruise, you're impressing the skaters.
They use this animation a couple of times. It's weird.
Come to think of it, in this cruise ship, I have yet to see a single chick in a bikini. There's a nigga masked up because of course there is, but nah, it seems like a lot of these chicks are dressed up for laundry day or as butch lesbians. Butch. That's a super butch. Okay, that's a stock lesbian. And here's a skater chick who's wearing denim jeans, a sports bra, with a fitted hat. What the blow clap, bro, look at this shit. This is what I imagine what bitches wear at a carnival cruise. And the last one on my list, the pimp from London is no more. But fellas, we gotta be real. The fact that we had a pimp underneath the bridge asking you to bet on which one of his hoes is going to win the slap fight is absolutely crazy. But don't get it twisted once more. If I had the power, I would have kept that shit in there. However, we have to acknowledge that this is a crazy ass mini game to add. And it's only my second favorite one. I know there are a couple more examples, but you get the idea. I mean, at the very least, you should understand why I'm wary of remakes. Time and time again, we see these developers make these unnecessary alterations simply because they believe that the content isn't appropriate in this day and age. And if it's to the point that you find hot chicks with suggestive clothing too icky for your rated T for teen skateboarding video game, then you need to reevaluate your life. And delete your Blue Sky account too while you're at it. Your job is to preserve the original project and fix the game-breaking bugs, not remove and change content that only a vocal minority are offended by. And we know that this is an overcorrection due to ideological beliefs, because again, this is a skateboarding game that's rated T for teens. This is a much more accurate depiction of the intended audience's humor and culture than this. Wait, that's actually hilarious.
Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3+4 developer says it's pulling.
Alright, are you fucking kidding me? 3+4 is a more sanitized product that tries to peacock to a more general audience, which in turn damages the overall atmosphere of the game. At times, 3+4 can feel as dead as Volition Studios. Take college as an example. In the OG version, there's frat boys chilling at the crib, football players practicing, people playing tennis, and in this version, no frat boys, no football, no tennis dudes. Instead, here's a couple of guys walking in some confetti, nigga. They don't even have the skating NPCs that were introduced in Thug 1. That could have spruced things up a little bit. Actually, since we're talking about the negatives of this game outside the censorship, let's run up another list. There's an underwhelming amount of unlockable characters, with 2 of them being Doom characters locked behind a paywall. On the bright side, we got Andy Anderson, Bird Dude, Michelangelo, with Bam Bam being on the list as well, even though he was on the main roster in both of the OG games. Seems like Activision didn't appreciate him being a menace. Apparently it took Tony Hawk himself to threaten the company with a S-Vest to get him back on. I would praise the suits for coming through, however they got on the game and started capping about him definitely being on the roster from the jump. So after reviewing the footage, gaslighting sliding by the defense, 15-yard penalty, that was accepted, 3rd and 72. You guys know the spacewalk trick, left right square while doing a manual? Well, basic edition 3+4 doesn't have it, which is fine since it is a thug era move. But they added the trick into the game anyways, changed it to a special manual, and removed the movement boost. It's also locked to the deluxe edition. Well, at least they nerfed it before paywalling it. The special trick selection is ass milk, with the manual, lip, and grind selection being especially terrible. Wait, that's most of the categories. And for whatever reason, there's not a lot of goofy tricks. You know, the moves that involve summoning props or acting a little silly. My favorite from the OG games was the Kareem dribble. I guess stereotypes exist for a reason. Yeah, we got the freaky ass grind, the handstand manual, the pizza grab, which was probably derived from the chomp on this trick. But consider if that's true. Notice the downgrade. Yeah, I don't know what this guy's talking about, considering that Michelangelo has a trick that's basically the OG move, but now it's a lip trick. Nah man, it just doesn't hit the same. Moving on, you can't edit the map levels. It seems like the whole Nike squad can wear Nikes, but not your created skater though. This could be a contractual issue, and if it is, I direct my fuck you to Nike. The sound design is ass.
You little lesbian.
We're losing recipes.
It's almost as if they weren't planning on you turning off the music. This is a petty one. Grinding the middle arches in the college level will now result in a combo ending if you don't adjust. This seagull cutscene last one on my list, no reset points.
And then, is there going to be a set custom go to custom restart feature that was in the old ones? Do you remember what that was? So you basically be in free skate and you hit pause and then you hit set custom restart. You're setting a spawn point. And so you go do a thing and then you crash, fail, and then you hit go to and you can start over. So
We do not have that.
okay.
It's even crazier considering that this was a common request after 1+2. So even if he wasn't aware of this, he or his team should have clocked this as a feature that they needed to add. Overall, 3+4 missed the mark as a remake. It cuts down, downgrades, and disrespects the original games. You would have to be completely oblivious of the existence of Pro Skater 3 and 4 to think that this is a solid product, which is insane because a massive portion of the potential buyers are longtime fans of the series, and the best argument they could make is that it looks cuter and it's still fun. In that case, I'd rather you leave my beloved franchise alone. The original games are much better, and only a Madden NBA 2K brained individual would fall for buying this shit because of the graphics. Hey, guess what emulators can do? And that brings me to the Tony Hawk Underground games. These two installments not only tweaked the gameplay, they added stories that also captured the culture and the humor of the intended audience. And based on how much 3+4 was neutered, if Thug 1 and 2 got remastered / remade, those suits would probably administer some changes. You guys ready for another list? Well, regardless of your response, here's what's in danger of being censored in Thug 1 and 2. The profanity.
I gotta give it to you, that run was bullshit.
The Japanese chef in Manhattan.
You must learn some old skating techniques. We'll start with the no comply. Failure will bring disgrace to my name and restaurant.
See, back in the day, we used to let anybody voice act a character, and also we loved doing those accents back in the day, alright? We don't do that anymore. Actually, every time you do an Asian accent as a non-Asian, Sungwoo Cho would delete one of his social media accounts. Next up, the cutscene I used in the cold open where the cop has a foot in our neck. The goat Easter egg behind the Tampa strip club. As a matter of fact, the strip club is in danger of being foreclosed, so to speak, and they would probably replace it with a fucking Taco Bell. I'm gonna also throw these moaning sound effects just to be safe. The Bam Margera mission has a bunch of girls doing a hoochie mama dance. This Hawaii mission where you have to impress a bunch of bikini clad chicks. I don't think this game is accounting for the fact that my character's a chick. Or maybe she's a lesbian. The aw yeah trick. The created deck feature. I'm pretty sure they won't let the players have letters at the very least. This circus chick in Russia. Also in Russia, you get to traffic women for this one dude. Back in Jersey, you're tasked with creating a team, and you can name it whatever you want. I don't think it's a good idea to move my head. Yeah, there's probably going to be a filter. That goes for the trick naming too. Fuck it, all of it's gonna be filtered. Full transparency, 3+4 has no text filtering as far as naming your skater, but I still have a hard time believing that they will continue giving you that freedom with these newer features. Moving on to Thug 2, I know the created graphic is going to get a stern talking to. Bam's truck is a ROM. They might have to change the loading screen for Boston. That ending cutscene is definitely getting changed too.
Your rack is wicked awesome.
Stop it! You're retarded.
No, you are!
You can hate this all you want, but this is an accurate depiction of downtown Boston. All you need is that homeless nigga that makes car noises and that one building that used to have sex in it. The store. Paulie's secondary shtick is that he's horny.
Mi grande chorizo es el jefe, mamacita.
Don't know how well that's gonna fly. This text from the Thailand chick is definitely not making the cut.
You throw a big good time party. You come back Thailand soon.
Sungwoo, no! In the Australia level, I'm torn on the Aboriginal. It is an accurate depiction of one, but I could also see somebody foaming at the mouth over it. Actually, put me on the keep side for this one. Plus 300 money line. Also, near the end of the level, my character gets stripped into her bra and panties. In Nolans, the Mardi Gras Girls Gone Wild chicks are definitely not coming back. And at the end of the level, honorary black man Chad Muska gets beat by a cop. And finally, during the credits, Paulie asked the reporter to show her tits.
Hey lady, let's see them sweater pickles.
If the Tony Hawk Underground games got a remakester, there's absolutely no way they're gonna just gussy it up for the new consoles. And that's if we get a remakester. I can't speak on the sales numbers since the game also released on the Game Pass, and we haven't exactly figured out what the conversion rate is, judging by the schizometrics they gave us. All we have right now is that it may have sold around 190,000 copies, it fell off after 1 month on Twitch, and that it's rumored to have a low budget. Focusing on that third point, I know that its budget wasn't confirmed, but you can just look at this game. I'd be surprised if it was 1.5 times more than 1 + 2. God, that sounded like a high school math problem. And with how frugal 3 + 4 looked, it's unlikely that a Thug 1 + 2 would come out. Think about how much extra shit that they would have to pay for. The cutscene polishing, the integration of features that were introduced into the Thug games to the new engine, the collector's edition / DLC that they would have to make to finesse you out your wallet, and of course the censorship that both the game devs and the publisher want to partake in. We know that this is a drop in the ocean for Activision, but the question is, do they even think it's worth it? Think about it, a remakester of Thug 1 and 2, or another Call of Duty game that prints more guap from the microtransactions than the game itself. Either way, Thug Pro, PCSX2, or rethawed. You know, all things considered, at least it was just one skateboarding franchise that received an inferior project, right?